Hey, it's Jared back with another weed review. If you like the t-shirt, check us out at pennyprofitdiscountstore.com. Home of Medicine Hat's largest bottom. You'll find it here. There's my plug. So last couple weed reviews we talked about chemical addiction. I don't think it is. Second weed review we've done was the positives of weed. I am still sober. But to be honest with you, I did the last episode 10 minutes ago. So I will update on my sobriety. I tape 2 or 3 sessions here at a time. So it'll probably be a couple weeks here, and I will keep updating on my sobriety. So we've talked about chemical addiction. We've talked about positives. Now we're going to talk about the negatives. As usual, all the links of everything I talk about will be in the descriptions. And I totally invite you to subscribe, like, share, comment, especially comment. We want communication here. We want engagement and interaction. If I say something you don't agree with, you need to correct me, please. Tell me, show me I'm wrong. I'm here to learn. So, did the positive effects, and now we're going to talk about the negative effects. And in doing this one, I hit upon something that I didn't mention in positive effects, but we'll get to that. Something I forgot, something that marijuana does do, and it's kind of neat when it happens, I think. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So I Googled, again, this time I did negative of marijuana, and a lot of the same sites came up because, positives and negatives can sometimes be on the same page. But the negatives seem to be already, like I said, there's a negative stereotype, negative labeling in general of marijuana by our government, in a sense, and mainstream media, if you will. Who's kidding who? I believe the only reason they legalized weed in general where it is legal is to capitalize on tax revenues. There's more money to be made by selling it to us than there is to pretend they're fighting us, or a war on drugs, if you will. So this is about being open and transparent. So the Health Canada, the long-term memory, concentration, intelligence, ability to think and make decisions, other long-term effects of cannabis are similar to the effects of smoking tobacco. Bronchitis, lung infections, chronic long-term cough, increased mucus buildup in the chest. Goes on to say different age groups, health effects during pregnancy and breastfeeding. I mean, it doesn't matter. How do I put this? Depending on your medical situation, obviously, you don't want to touch weed, you shouldn't drink while you're pregnant. I guess smoking marijuana could have adverse effects. I'm not getting into that here. We're not doing research on that. Feel free to bring it to our attention. Like I said, we're here to learn. So, paranoid, delusion, hallucinations, damaged blood vessels, decreased blood pressure, increased heart rate, impairs the ability to remember, concentrate, pay attention, react quickly, anxiety or fear. So what I'm getting at is, so far to me, the interesting thing is, depending on how you look at it, how much you smoke can make the good seem like bad. My mom actually called me up one time and asked me for some weed, and it blew me away. I didn't know my mom smoked weed at all. Well, she didn't. She tried it when she was a teenager, said she didn't care for drugs. But she knew I smoked it, and she called us up and she asked me and my wife for some. So sure enough, we got her some, I was kind of excited about it. I thought it was neat. But my mom did the medical thing, if you will, that I've been kind of preaching. She just took a couple puffs. And she called me back and she said, come get it. I don't want it. And I was like, why? And she said, because it just made things worse. So She had some anxieties and she chose to try weed to alleviate those anxieties, and it went the other way. She smoked it and she felt as though it didn't help her relax. It actually intensified everything. So that's only for you to understand. So the next thing I found, and I'm showing this because I think it's not funny. I suppose that these are true, but I think some of this stuff's exaggerated. So this page, I debated whether I show this. All of this stuff appears to be true. Short-term effects, short-term memory, in high doses, paranoia and psychosis, altered brain development, increased risk of chronic psychosis disorders, cognitive impairment, lower IQ, chronic bronchitis, less life satisfaction and achievement, poor education outcome with increased likelihood of dropping out of school. Notice they're pointing at the young man for all of this, pointing at the young lady, impaired motor coordination, altered judgment, increased risk in sexual behavior that causes transmission of STDs. Wow. Wow. I think, I don't even know what to say, because there's going to be people that absolutely agree with this and think that that's how evil weed is. I just plain and simple, I disagree. I just disagree. I think there's a lot of other things going on in a person's life that makes that contributes to poor life decisions. And I'm not saying weed isn't assisting in those poor decisions, but okay. I'm not going to say anything more. It's a reality. You need to be aware. The whole point of this is talking about what's going on and the truth. And there's going to be people that completely agree with this and think that this is why weed is so evil, so bad. I've presented it. I'm going to keep going. You want more information? The link for this site is in the description. Okay, 11 negative side effects of using marijuana. Addiction, I disagree with. Like I said, I don't think it's chemically addictive. I think it's hard to put down, and I'm testing that myself. Memory loss, social anxiety disorders, paranoia, heart damage, lung problems, low testosterone, appetite irregularities, risk of greater potency, decrease in motor responses, poor decisions. Another site. Teenage brain development issues, higher likelihood of depression, possibility of increased anxiety, risk of psychiatric disorders, problems with memory function, damage to the lungs, cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome, cardiovascular and heart damage, decrease in testosterone, marijuana use reduction or addiction. So like I said, they're all kind of similar. They're pointing out that long term it can have these bad things, just like smoking tobacco. And they're also trying to say, depending on who you are, the pluses can turn into negatives. Healthyplace.com. Link is in the description. Other negative effects of weed include altered senses, dizziness, tiredness, fatigue, reduced coordination and balance, cognitive impairment, anxiety, panic, paranoia, hallucinations, mind alterations, altered blood pressure, dizziness, increased heart rate, flushing, dry mouth, nausea, vomiting, tooth discoloration, increased appetite, skin rash, dry eyes, blurred vision, cough, and sore throat. We go through some of that and we think it's positives depending on who you talk to. Okay, psychological effects of marijuana. DelphiHealthGroup.com. The reason I'm bringing this up is because, like I said, the mix of positive and negative here. Relaxation, heightened sensory perception, laughter, altered time perception, anxiety, fear, and distrust. I didn't mention in the positives, and I should have, because, I mean, sometimes you get high and you're with a friend and something happens and you both just laugh. You get the giggles. That's what we used to call it. You get the giggles. And you laugh so much you cry and everything's just funny. And can't remember the last time I had a good giggle fest with somebody, but I wanted to mention that. It's a positive in my mind. So like I said, what they're doing is they're mixing a little bit about the positives and the negatives with everything I've seen. This site I wanted to bring up because it's important to note a negative to smoking marijuana is it does impair you. There's no doubt about that. whether you're taking it recreationally or medicinally, it will impair you. Marijuana risks. Athletic performance. Well, that's debatable, isn't it? If you're from Canada and you know a famous snowboarder, you will debate whether it helps you or not. It's supposed to slow us down, and it helped one man. You can Google that. Ross Bagliotti, I believe, is the guy's name. Driving. Don't get high and drive. And again, marijuana while you're pregnant. Everything that I've seen says you should stay away from it. So I'm going to agree with that. I'm not going to talk about much more than that because I don't know. And again, this link is in the description. This is from the other site that I mentioned that gives you a lot of information. If you want to dive into this, again, the link is in the description. So I'm going to end this by saying that I believe, like anything, there's good and bad. Only you can decide, again, whether you are using this stuff recreationally, medicinally, what effects it has on you, and whether or not you wish to partake. That's the end of the story. I think everything has good and bad health effects, and at the end of the day, I'm detoxing and quitting not because I necessarily agree with all of the negative in the long term. It concerns me because there will be long-term negative effects. So that's all there's to it. It's got to wear on your body in some ways, even though you're getting positive benefits from it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go sober because I want to experience no cloudiness, no fog in my mind, not even a little bit. And like I said, I will update you. At the end of the day, though, I'm going to leave today's weed review as there are more positives to negatives to smoking weed and the lifestyle, but only you know what's right for you. As I said, all the links are in the description. Get your t-shirt or your hoodie at pennyprofitdiscountstore.com. Home of Medicine at the largest bong room. You'll find it here. I'm Jared, and I will see you next time on Weed Review.